Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, dear teachers, to this webinar on professional development and how to make yourselves all the teachers future ready. A very warm welcome to all of you to this session. We hope that it will be a fruitful session so that you will learn what exactly we mean by professional development for teachers and how to make yourselves experts in online teaching and where this comes as part of our development for our teacher in the teacher learning process. Let's look at these issues today in this session. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Akila Indurti. I've been a teacher educator for nearly 3 decades now, and it gives me a great pleasure to be addressing you on this particular topic, which is quite close to my heart and which I feel is the need of the hour. Before we start, I would like to start with a beautiful anecdote. Most of you might have heard, at least those of you from Kerala, would have heard about Katyayani Amma. At 96 years, she went for a literacy mission test, which means she had just joined for her course a few years before that. And she went for this literacy mission test and she scored a whopping 98 marks in the test. So it is said that a true learner always looks for gaining knowledge at any age. Age is definitely not a barrier to learning. This old lady scored not, she just didn't get a just pass or anything like that, but she scored almost full, 98 marks. And because of this kind of stupendous achievement, she was honored by the government of Kerala. And did she stop with just learning this? She had basic literacy and basic numeracy, which was taught to her. But did she stop with that? At this age? No. When she was honored, during the honoring ceremony, she expressed her wish that everybody, all the youngsters and other people, young adults, are now using computers. And she expressed a desire that she would also like to master the nuances of computer. And the government of Kerala, very benevolent, it fulfilled her wish by gifting her a new laptop. And now she is trying to master using the laptop. She has become a TV star and she is featured in all the programs. And at the age of 96, she is not just the oldest student, but she is also the Commonwealth of Learning Goodwill Ambassador. So you see, there is no age for us to stop learning or to start learning something afresh. What we need to continuously do is to keep unlearning what we have learned, keep learning something that is new, and relearn something old topics or old concepts. We may have to relook at them, rewire ourselves, relook and relearn in the new fashion. So learning does not stop at any age. Are there different kinds of learning? Or is all learning just the same? Let's just have a look at that. There are, of course, different types of learning. The first thing is called maintenance learning. Maintenance, when you use the word maintenance, we use the word maintenance for machines, for old equipment. We say it's gone for maintenance. Sometimes the servers go in for maintenance. So maintenance is a word which means it tries to keep in shape. Similarly, this kind of learning tries to keep us in shape. It's not something great. We don't learn anything great, but this is very important. This kind of learning is very important because it's like physical fitness. It tries to make us keep in touch with the latest trends, with the latest things. This is like, for example, when you look at the stock prices in the share market every day, you see how it has happened, what is it, or if you have funds, you see what the rate is, mutual funds, what is the rate, what is it today, what is the NAV, what is the market price. You keep looking at all these things. That is also a kind of learning. All those come under the maintenance learning. But what is growth learning? Maintenance learning is something now which we keep doing regularly, whether it is for physical fitness or mental fitness or to learn something new, then you go in for that. But a little beyond that is something called growth learning. This is where we get a little bit more serious. We want to add knowledge. We want to add more expertise to our knowledge and the skills which we already have, or we want to supplement what we have, or we want to learn something that is new, which we do not, which we never had an opportunity, or which has just presented itself in the present times. This kind of a learning is called growth learning. This happens when we read books or when we surf the net and read blogs, something that is of educational value, or when you listen to TED Talks or podcasts, things like that, because that expands your learning, expands the horizon where we stand. So that kind of learning is called growth learning. This also we keep doing periodically. There is yet another kind of learning called the shock learning. This is something like the shock and awe. That is when you reverse a piece of knowledge which you already know. Suddenly somebody comes and says, no, no, this is not the way it has to be done. It is all these years we were using something, but that is not what can be used now. Now it is going to be an entirely different way of doing things. This will be useful only if you act upon it. If you just listen and drop it, it is not going to be of any use to us. It kind of shocks us into action. We have been perhaps in a state of inertia. This kind of learning comes once in a way to us, and it kind of knocks us out and says, what you've been doing all these years is not that much correct. You need to relook at your ways. Now, for example, the present times, what has happened, we can say is an example of shock learning. Most of us teachers have been going to schools, colleges, and universities and teaching learners there. We have been making use of the chalk and the traditional board, be it the blackboard or the whiteboard and the pen, the marker pen. And we have been teaching to a classroom of eager students. We've been trying to do our best and teach them. Suddenly, there comes a pandemic, a little invisible virus, which puts a complete stop to all the existing patterns that we are aware and we know of. Therefore, it has shocked us into disbelief, and it has also shocked us into learning something new. The initial period of trying to figure out what to do has slowly given place, or it has moved on, it has helped us to relook at things, reboot ourselves, and then teachers or schools have started doing online teaching. See, for long you cannot, if you cannot go out and do things, let's see how we can bring it into our own homes and make use of the available resources and still keep the teaching learning process going on. This is what we have done when we moved on to online teaching. Actually, it is not such a big deal because world over, many schools, even in the country, many elite and high-end schools have moved on to making use of a lot of online tools. But they may not be doing it at home, but they may be doing it, blending it with their regular classroom. They would be doing it in their classrooms, but making use of the smart boards, making use of all the available advancements in technology, bringing it into their own classrooms. But now it is no longer a choice. It has become a necessity. So we need to move on and find out how we can make use of this, how we can act upon it, how we can empower ourselves, how we can enrich ourselves if there are avenues, how we can make use of this new learning to supplement what we already know, and to make this shift from from a regular classroom to the online medium. The only bottom line is we as teachers, as educators, we should not be afraid to change. For change is the way of life. I'm sure you could all recall when I quote a few lines from the poet Tennyson. He says, "The old order changeth, yielding place to new. And God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom corrupt the world." So there is no one good custom which will be there permanently. It would always be, we are all people who are given into change. Change occurs continuously, whether we know it or not. From our young age, we have gone on to the middle ages, and very soon we go on to the old age. And that's how the life cycle goes on. So, also in the field of education, many challenges have cropped up, many new innovations have come, and in today's world, these innovations are going on at a rapid pace, and it is up to us to keep pace with these changes so that we will be able to skill ourselves and be a good teacher and be someone who is able to deliver lessons or deliver the whatever our avowed goals are, even under the present circumstances. So these are the different types of learning that we have. What exactly do we mean by professional development? Professional development are activities where you develop the skills, your knowledge, and your attitude. I would like to narrate an anecdote here. Once upon a time, there was a man who wanted to learn carpentry. So he went to a master carpenter and he learned the nuances of his trade from the master carpenter. Now, this master was a skilled craftsman. He was very good in his trade. So he taught him all the nuances of carpentry and made him ready to go out into the world and earn his living as a carpenter. This carpenter comes out and starts making boxes, various things using wood because that is what he has learned. Initially, he was able to make, say, about 10 boxes per day. And he was very quick and he put his heart and soul into it. And he was able to deliver what was promised to his customers. Over a period of time, slowly, he found that he was slowing down. He had the same kind of enthusiasm as he had started. He used the same things. He was in the same place. The same motivation was there. The same passion for his job was there. But slowly he found that he was becoming slower and slower. And there came a point when he could not move beyond making 4 boxes in a day. Now he didn't know what to do. The only thing he thought was to go back to his master and ask him the reason for this kind of slow output from his end. The master heard him patiently, nodded his head, and just uttered one sentence. He asked him, "Did you sharpen your tools?" So there was the problem. The man had not thought of it. He was only looking at himself. What was wrong with him? Why was he not able to do as he had started? Why was it that it was becoming difficult for him to move ahead? Why was he slowing down? But he never once thought that he had to sharpen his tools. It was such a simple solution. So he came back happily and he did what was required, and the tools shone, and he was able to get back to his original productivity. So, professional development for us teachers also is something like sharpening our tools. We are experienced teachers, or we might be teachers who have just started out in our profession, or we might be not so old and not so new, maybe 5 years, 10 years into our career, or we may be seasoned teachers. Whatever it is, gone are the days when we could retire sitting with the same skills that we know, with the same kind of content knowledge that we came into the class. In today's world, things are moving at such a rapid pace that everything is changing, and there are a lot of additions, editing that is happening, additions that are happening. So we need to augment our knowledge. Augmenting our knowledge and becoming ready every day has become the necessity for every profession, more so for teachers. As you know, whether it is a doctors, they might be old and experienced, but they can't be prescribing the same medicines as they had started out. They have to keep in touch with the latest advancements in the field of medicine and keep changing those medicines. So they are dealing with lives. Here, as teachers, we are dealing with live children. So we need to keep developing the skills, our knowledge, and our attitude. We need to bring in a lot of positive attitude. As you know, this deals with the 3 domains of learning: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So these are the three domains of knowledge which we have to keep looking into each day and seeing where the advancements are coming in and what are the things that are the latest in education research, things which we can use and to make us successful in our classes. So we are very happy that Teachers World has come out with a series of courses to make you future ready, to make you develop these kind of skills, knowledge, and attitude. You don't have to go looking for it elsewhere. Professional development will be taken care of by Teachers World. And very often what happens, schools have to conduct these kind of formal in-service training because schools have to see that the teachers upgrade their content knowledge and the pedagogical skills of the teachers. But very often schools themselves are unaware, especially schools that are not in the cities but are in distant towns. They may not be having the wherewithal to conduct such courses. So for all of you there, take heart. Teachers World comes to you with new courses, fresh modules each month. And how does this help? This will help you to teach your own subject area content and concepts much, much more effectively. By augmenting your knowledge and by learning about the new skills that are there, which have come up in the field of education, you will be able to teach and become a much more effective teacher. There are varying teaching techniques which we have to learn. Originally, it was thought of that, a teacher comes with a book and she starts having a lesson plan in hand. She plans what she's going to do and she just delivers the lesson in the class. Gone are those days. Now we talk about differentiated learning, differentiated learners. There are different kinds of learners. So this one size fits all kind of an approach is not going to bring in success. If schools have to be successful, if teachers have to be effective, if you have to make use of your school hours productively, then teachers have to learn about these different teaching techniques which are based on students' learning needs. What is the learning need for each student? Where does their interest lie? You can't deliver the same kind of things. See, even when we go out, all of us say as a family, we go out to a restaurant. We all don't order the same thing. We take whatever we like. We say we want variety because each one is made in a different way. We have different tastes. We are wired differently. So, well, some of you may like continental. Somebody says, I like Chinese. Somebody says, no, I like South Indian. Somebody says, no, I like only North Indian. So we have plenty to choose from. There is a wide platter to choose from. Similarly, in the class also, when you have 30 to 35 children, you can't have the same teaching technique. Children cannot respond to you in the same way. So what happens very often is only the front benchers lift their hands because they are more tuned to the kind of teaching that you do and they end up answering. But that's not the expectation or the outcome for education. That's not the purpose of education. We have the Rashtriya Saksharata Mission. What does it say? Literacy Mission, which says no child should be ever left behind. The right to education is a right for every child. So it is our duty to see, as teachers, it is our duty to see that every child, we take them all with us. We don't leave the backbenchers to remain in the class and to just keep going forward just because the government has said that there is a no detention policy. That is not the reason for children to move ahead. Children should move ahead because they are good in the subject. They have learned whatever they have set out to learn, and they are quite proficient in what they have to learn at that particular standard, that particular grade, at that particular age, and then they move forward. So that is the purpose of this kind of courses, because it tries to teach you about or create an awareness about the existence of the different teaching techniques which are based on student learning needs. Each student comes with a different need and different interest. So we try to tailor make our content. We try to serve each one. The content is the same, but we try to break it into bite-sized concepts, into small units, into different kinds of varieties, and we try to serve it to the student who will pick it up. Some may like activities, some may like interesting anecdotes, some may like things to do and learn, some may just take it in if you're showing it visually. Some would like to take it in if you are telling them all the time, auditory learners. So we have different types of learners, and these teaching techniques are actually useful for such children, and we have a variety of these in every class. And then what we do is we also develop performance indicators. When you give them assignments or assessments, you create them in a very creative manner. And when you give it to them and when they turn it over to you, from their performance, you are able to know which child has learned what, which portion of that particular assignment has been difficult for the child, and why is it difficult. And then what you do, that serves as an indicator. We call those as performance indicators. So the assessments or the assignments are not to test the knowledge of a child or check the understanding of the child, but they also serve as guideposts for us teachers. They make us understand where we need to pause, where we need to stop, where we need to relook at our own techniques, where where we need to bring in newer techniques. So this many things happen within the same teaching class or in your sessions. And you need to adapt your teaching style to suit all these kinds of learners. So this is what is the purpose of professional development. But why is it so important? Is it not necessary? Is it so important for us to attend these courses? As I told you through that anecdote, it's very important for us to sharpen our skills and be in touch with the latest in the field. So this is going to be an ongoing development for teachers. There is no period to stop. It is going to be a lifelong learning process, because by the time we master the few that are there, a few more come into the scene. So all our life goes in learning newer and newer things, adapting what we have learned, trying to supplement what we need to know, and trying to modify what we have already known. So all these things keep happening, and you will all benefit from these only if you keep in touch with such courses. So as lifelong learners, teachers are lifelong learners. We cannot stop learning at any stage. There are new strategies for educators. Plenty of strategies have come. Online teaching itself, many people have written to us or asked us, how can we make ourselves good online teachers? No, we have been very, very successful, because in a traditional medium, in a regular classroom, you can look at them, you can go and speak to them. You can, if somebody is doing very well, you can go and pat their back. If they are not doing well, you can give them extra attention. You can ask them to stay back for a few minutes during the interval or after school hours. You can teach them. There are all these, proven methods are there in a regular classroom. What happens in an online medium? And in online medium, you don't have the luxury of time. So therefore, it also starts affecting student learning. So in order to make student learning effective, we have to keep ourselves in touch with professional development. And it also encourages the success of new teachers. See, we are all the time, we may be old in as far as our age is concerned. We might have signed in as teachers long ago, but we never signed in to become online teachers. So in that sense, we are still new. We need to learn. Also, those teachers who are fresh from the training institutes, they may not know how to go about these things. So for all of them, professional development is extremely necessary and important. And it promotes a growth mindset. Professional development promotes a growth mindset. Now, what is a growth mindset? That's a beautiful technique. In fact, that's a module all by itself. Usually what happens, teachers have the habit of looking at children who always come first in many things, whether it is co-curricular or whether in academics, and say, you are very talented, you're very intelligent. So this way, what happens, the others simply say, oh, I am not born intelligent, I am just an average learner, so I don't have to actually pay attention. So they kind of compromise and let themselves go. Now that has been proved wrong by a University of Stanford professor called Carol Dweck, who says that, teachers should never make use of or pat a child for her or his talent or for her intelligence. Because every child, it is possible for every child, because every child is quite special and every child can succeed. All it needs is putting in a lot of effort and putting in practice and persevere towards the goal. So if we persevere, if we work hard towards our goal, every child, it need not be that the child is born with intelligence. That is all, has been proved false by research. Professor Carol Dweck has proved by research that there is nothing called a fixed mindset. That is called a fixed mindset, where you say this child is born intelligent and therefore he is talented and therefore he always comes first. No. Now it is the time for growth mindset to take over. And growth mindset is where we keep ourselves open. Our minds are open. It is receptive to various influences. As they say, the mind is like a parachute. Both the parachute and mind works only when it is open. If it is shut, nothing pierces inside, nothing goes inside. So we need to keep our minds open like the parachutes. Only then what happens, we are enabling a growth mindset to take place. And then we use the SMART goal system to set achievable goals. What are the achievable goals for teachers? How should they be? The goals, the learning outcomes have to be specific. We can't go all over the place. We don't have the luxury of time, especially when you're teaching through an online medium. Time is at a premium. You have only half an hour. You can't take special classes as you used to do before. So what does that mean? Does it mean that we will leave the children behind? No, we will have to take them with us. We have to see that they are able to achieve the learning outcomes that are age appropriate, that are there for this particular year. So we need to keep specific goals in front of us and teach only what is actually relevant. Leave the fluff out. We call the others the fluff. Your textbooks are nothing but mass of information. You don't need that much of information. We have to be very smart to take only the key concepts and teach them through the online medium. So we have to be specific, and these have to be measurable. When you give them an assessment, children will have to do it well. So they have to be measurable, and these have to be attainable. Don't keep unrealistic, impossible goals. Children should be able to achieve. When I mean children, I don't mean only the cream of the learners. I refer to the entire class of learners, all of them. There is nothing called the backward learner or the average learner or the exceptional learner or the different learners. All of them are learners. We have to keep or cater to all these kinds of learners. Therefore, it has to be attainable. And whatever we teach has to be relevant. That is very important. Relevance to the topic. We don't have to go all over, which is not relevant, and teach them something that has got no bearing to that particular concept. So where do we go looking for such resources? And what about timely? It has to be very, very timely. You can't, when the class is going on, whatever is relevant, then and there we need to tell them about that particular thing. We can't wait for a month later and say, when I taught the unit 2, I forgot to tell you something. So here is what I'm trying to tell you. So it loses the immediacy of the moment. So this is how we need to have a SMART goal system to make ourselves efficient teachers moving ahead, whether it is going to be in the online medium or in our traditional classrooms. We envisage or we anticipate that once this period is over, this period is a beautiful period where you can make use of the time to enrich yourselves and to develop yourselves professionally. But moving ahead, things are not going to be the same henceforth, because children have seen the merits of using a smart board or this kind of smart learning. So if you go back to the traditional way, they are going to call it boring. They are going to start clamoring. Parents are going to start asking for making use of such things in your classes. So we cannot escape. There is no escape from this kind of the novelty or the newness of this is going to stay forever with us. And our classes are going to be a blend of both the smart, that is the virtual medium, as well as the traditional or the regular medium. So we need to brace ourselves. How can we do that? We need to update our knowledge in a subject in the light of recent advances. In the past 3-4 months itself, so much of advancement has happened. When we started off in the month of March, we did not know what were the tools we could use. What are the resources that teachers can use in an online medium? Where can we go looking for it? But now there is better clarity because everybody has started. There are many companies, many edutech companies, which are putting in their resources, who are trying to do their best to make teachers future ready, to empower teachers. So we would be just missing many things if we don't catch up with them or keep pace with all these advances. So we need to keep pace in our particular content area. We need to update our skills, our attitudes, our attitude towards it. It's no longer, we need to show a lot of positive attitude. That is where we say it is not enough if we only cater to the head. All along in a classroom, what happened? Teachers used to come, they used to teach, and the child's head used to get filled, and then they would go out and write the exams and come back. We would not be looking into their soft skills or to their attitude, but ethics, values, the affective domain, that is where the heart is. That domain is also very, very important. We need to integrate those values, the ethics, into our lessons. It's not enough if we just teach them only what is their concepts and the important things that are there in the lesson. We have to see how we can integrate life lessons, real life lessons, skills, life skills, all these things into our existing lessons. But to do all these things, it's important for us to be aware and to know how to do them. So unless we as teachers are aware of these things, it would be very difficult for us to make use of them in the classroom. How can we integrate value education into our regular lessons? How can we touch the affective domain? How can we also teach the children apart from the cognitive? How can we also look into their affective domain? How can we give them activities? How can we improve the kind of activities that we do? How can we bring in an experiential dimension? We say experiential learning. So how can we bring that dimension into the class? So it's a holistic building up of the personality of a child, a holistic blossoming of the child's personality. But to do all these things, it's very important for us as teachers to be in touch and to keep sharpening our tools and see that we are in touch with the latest. Don't worry, don't get intimidated by what I'm saying. I'm just giving you a preview, an overview of all that is there. I'm just placing the basket in front of you, the various things. To make a choice, to pick and choose, to see what is relevant to you, to see how you can empower yourselves is up to you. We are here to offer to make you feel comfortable. That is what Teachers World aims to do. It tries to empower teachers, it tries to engage you and see that you are an empowered teacher at the end of the program. Each course module has been designed in such a way that there will be a takeaway for you, that it will make your teaching process a lot more better than what it was. You will be aware of the latest things that are happening around the world and in other parts of the country. So these things, these new teaching techniques, the new objectives, the new circumstances, and the new educational research, all these things you will have to know. This is what the new education policy is also talking about. Very soon it will be out in the public domain. We will be implementing whatever the recommendations are. And these recommendations focus a lot on teacher training. They say, all these days teachers have been just doing day in and day out what they know. They have never been given an opportunity to learn something new and use those things in the schools. So as a result, we have two different kinds of system. We have one that is what we call Bharat and one what we call India. India is going far ahead. All the high-end schools are going ahead with all these things because they have these avenues, these opportunities. But the majority of the schools that are there in every nook and corner of the states of India do not have these opportunities and therefore they are left behind. So what happens is when it comes to a competitive exam or facing when they grow up and go into the job market, obviously a child who is brighter and smarter gets simply because they have had better opportunities. It is not that these children they are not bright or they are not smart. In fact, they are much more hardworking. They are much more wonderful. I have traveled to the length and breadth of this country and seen children in different parts of the state, in different states. And I know the children have that thirst. There is a glint in their eye. They want to learn. They are all the time looking forward. That thirst for knowledge is there. And who can quench that thirst? Only those teachers there. But they can quench the thirst of the children only if they are aware and if they know. It is for empowering such teachers in every corner of this country that we have come out with these teacher-friendly, very, very user-friendly modules. So what you can do after learning all these things, it will enable you to make changes to your own curriculum. The text is given to you, but how you serve it. See, the same thing is cooked, but how you go and serve it is left to each individual. The presentation matters a lot. So how you go and serve this content, each one of you is a curriculum designer in that respect. Because you can design your own curriculum. You can pull in a concept, you can pull in an infographic, you can pull in a graphic organizer, you can pull in a mind mapping, you can pull in, say, an activity, or you can tell a story, or you can make use of a game-based, concept teaching. You can, or an animated film. You can make use of so many things, but first you must be aware that these things are available for you. So when you know it, then you can go and make changes to your own teaching style, to your own teaching practice, and bring these new practices into your classroom and make the classroom extremely interesting for the children. Ultimately, children should benefit from these things. And these kind of programs also enable schools to develop and apply. You can be the change maker in your school. When you tell them that you have attended such courses and they seem to be beneficial to you because you're able to bring those things into your own classroom practices, then the schools will be motivated to encourage other teachers also to participate. So the entire school, so through you, your classroom, your children benefit, and through you, your school benefits. And when schools are able to bring over this change, entire communities of children are able to move ahead, move forward, learn something anew and afresh. So that is the aim of these programs. And also what happens is you're able to exchange information and expertise amongst yourselves. You can bring in some experts from outside for their point of view. For example, if you're going to talk about commerce or banking, then all you need to do is call the manager of a local bank. They'll be more than willing to come and take the class for the children. Make it as a program for the entire campus who are all having these kind of things. Or if it is going to be, you're talking about rainwater during rainy season, how to harvest the rainwater, bring a water expert, whoever is available. They will be more than happy to come and, take a class either online or in person. Or if there are a lot of diseases that are coming up, say there is the seasonal flu or dengue, all these things come, then you can call a doctor and ask them to come and deliver a lesson. So these are best practices that you are making use of to enrich your children, and there is an element of novelty. So this way there is a constant exchange of information between you. And for the higher classes, you can call people from the industry, so you know exactly what they expect. Otherwise, what many industries, after they take interviews, they come to the campuses of the colleges, they take the students, and then they say, we have to spend a whole lot of time just to make these children industry ready. When they come from the schools and colleges, they come with such a raw knowledge. They don't have any practical knowledge. Everything is only bookish, and all that is obsolete, which people were using, many, many years ago. Whereas in practice, these things are not to be used. So if you keep calling or if you learn from these industries, then you know from the industry experts, this is how you have to train the children for their future. So you are able to build a bridge between their present and their future. So this way, you see, we are building an empowered citizenry in our country, which is the need of the hour. And most importantly, these courses will try to make weaker teachers more effective. There are many teachers who do not know how to make use of these techniques in their classes. These courses, these kind of teacher instruction would try to help them, make them effective teachers. Therefore, teacher instruction, better teacher instruction for student achievement. That is the goal of this program. And uh, what are the things that we would like to teachers to be aware of, to learn moving ahead? Learning skills. When you say we want to have an activity based classroom, when we want to have experiential learning, when we want to have differentiated learning, what are the things that children have to learn? The 4 C's, they are very important. Critical thinking. You know, most of you have done education, your B.Ed or your education degrees, you must be learning about the Bloom's taxonomy. Unfortunately, we are at the lowest bottom of the pyramid, that is applying. It's only remembering stage. We don't go to the applying stage. The application is the topmost, the pinnacle of that particular pyramid. We are in the remembering stage. That is the bottommost. And then we go to the explaining stage. We don't ask them to analyze anything. We don't ask them to create something. We don't ask them to evaluate something. All our questions are like what, where, how. You know, it is all those simple, direct questions. So children don't think. If you want to make them think, you have to start dealing with the higher order thinking skill questions, which we call the HOTS. Those are where they can apply that knowledge, where they are able to create something and where they're able to evaluate what is happening within them. So that application is very important, but we only cater to the lowest stage, that is the remembering stage. Now, what happens, most of our lessons are, that means dealing only with rote learning. Children by heart their answers, they go to the examination, they learn something and they go vomit it and they come away. So rote learning is not going to make them future ready. It's not going to make them good citizens. It's not going to make them employable. It's not going to empower them for their life or for their living. It is only the memory power which we are testing. Children who have good memory go and write exams, pass the exams in flying colors and come away. That's not the purpose of education. We need to promote critical thinking skills. How can we do that? We need to create assignments, creative thinking. We need to give assignments which are very creative, not the routine, answer in 1 word or a 10-mark question or 30 words or 5-mark questions or an essay writing, 300-word question that's 10 marks. Gone are those days. Those are not the way in which we are going to set the question paper. The question paper will largely do with testing their knowledge about the concepts in the form of MCQs. Even a word puzzle can be an assessment test. A word search can be an assessment. The assignments that you give them will be very creative. So how can we do these things? These modules will tell you about all those. And then teamwork. Children cannot work all by themselves. They must learn how to work in teams. Collaboration, project work. Now, how can we do that in a regular classroom and how can we do a collaborative work in an online medium? Those are things we would like to learn in these modules, and how to be good communicators. If you know a lot, you're a king in the subject, in the content, but you do not know how to communicate, then you become a very ineffective teacher. So if we want to be effective teachers, we must be good communicators. So how can we improve upon our communication skills? That is very important. Improving our communication skills is a very important part of our skill development as a teacher. So these are what we will be learning in our learning skills. Then what about literacy skills? Literacy skills will tell you about all the information that is there, the latest teaching techniques. What are the things that have happened in educational methodology? That is information literacy. You're making yourselves information literate, media literate. What are the various things? We have the social media, we have the electronic media, we have the mass media. How can we empower ourselves making use of all these? First of all, we should know how to make use of these channels to bring in what are the platforms that are available for us if we have to conduct an online program. That is, first of all, you have to know about these things. That is media literacy. And then technology literacy, how to become technologically advantaged. See, very often we may be very good in our subject, but we do not know. We're still fiddling with various buttons. We do not know what's a YouTube, how to toggle the buttons. We need to take the help, how to make a presentation, how to make a PowerPoint presentation, how to project the PowerPoint presentation in our class, how to take a live class. How can we do it? Are there such things, that apps available where we can do these things? What are the various boards that are available for us? No. So these are the things that we will learn in our technology literacy. Actually, your very first module that Teachers World has opened up is how to make you experts in digital education, because that is the need of the hour. So we are jumping various things and we are going straight to what is very, very essential in our present day times. Everywhere we have begun with online teaching. So how to empower our teachers, how to make the teachers ready, or make them empowered to take these online classes. Many teachers do not know how to make use of the smartphone or your tablet or your iPad or your laptop or your computer system to handle classes. So we try to ease the process. The next week, this first module as part of your technology literacy is how to make yourselves experts in digital education. That course begins from Monday. If you feel merit in it, if you feel that it is something that is going to be relevant and useful, and it's going to make you a better teacher by making you empowered in the online form of teaching, we would strongly recommend you to become a member of the association and enroll yourselves for these courses. It's a 5-day program, and people who have taken the program so far have given us the feedback that it is very useful, and they are able to make use of these things in their online teaching. So please give that a thought. So that is what technology literacy is all about. So these are the literacy skills. And then moving on to life skills. It's not important, it's not enough as teachers for us to know only about learning skills and literacy skills. We also have to prepare children for life, not just to make a living. After all, if you ask them, why are you studying? They'll say to get a degree. Why do you want a degree? Because I want to get into a good job. Why do you want a good job? Because I want to earn a lot of money. What do you do with a lot of money? Oh, I want to lead a very happy life. That's what they say. But is that enough? Why is it that we find in society there are a lot of problems? People given to you've been following the papers, you're following the media. People are taking away their own lives. They are becoming violent. They are doing self-harm, or they are harming others, or they are abusing substances, or they are getting into undesirable things. If the end aim of education is only for a living, then all these people who are very successful should not be doing all these things. So, which means our education, there is a gap. And what is that gap? It has not made them ready for life. So, education is not just for living, but it is also for life. It's for making a child or a student face life with courage and fortitude. How can we do that? And that is the reason why we bring in, that is the role of the affective domain. So we do have a lot of course for that. We have how to be flexible. As a teacher, how can you can't say my way or highway. You have to go in the way of the children and then pull them back to what you want. So it's like how you say, I give a spoonful of sugar to a child to make him eat medicine. There's a famous poem that there's a famous song, in Mary Poppins, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. So, that is very important. You have to be so flexible. You have to make yourself flexible enough to understand what children want so that they will take what you want to give them readily. And what are the initiatives that you can take to teach children important life skills? What are the social skills? Sometimes we say these children are socially awkward, and more so when you're going to be online and you're going to be only doing online lessons for a long time, they will find it very difficult to move about. And after, schools are a place where they learn a lot of social skills. Now, with this kind of a pandemic raging violently, where we can't move out, what can we do? How are we going to teach social skills to our children? At the same time, learning cannot stop. So it is the responsibility of the teacher to extend social skills also, whether it is a regular school or in an online medium. And what about ethics? Children have to learn to lead a moral life, a good life. Only then they can become good citizens of the country. After all, we are not giving them education so that they know how to do crimes very intelligently. That too in today's world where cyber crimes and white collar crimes are increasing. They are all educated, but unfortunately, of what use is that kind of education? Education without ethics. So we have to also be, as teachers, we have to empower them with ethics education, value education. Give them leadership skills. Children are born to soar and lead. You have to make them soar. Give them wings, they will soar. So, how will you encourage them? How will you know where their true potential lies? So, for all this, teachers have to be aware and teachers have to be ready to see these things in children and pick out what is good or what is best, what way a child shines. So, you can assess these things. So, how can you do that? And most importantly, how can we promote health and hygiene? How can we promote wellness? If children are spitting outside, that is because teachers have never thought it, their job to tell them about cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness in their surroundings. You might ask, is this my job? Of course it is. Not just simply teaching subjects. It's your duty to make a child a holistic personality. So these things come into that wellness, health. So for all these things, first you must know how to be stress free and how to take care of your health. Only then you will be able to give all these things to the children. Also, emotional skills. How can they handle emotions? Children are going through various phases. At each stage, from a toddler, they become young children. And from children, they become adolescents, teenagers, young adults. At every stage, the challenges are different. There is a lot of peer pressure. You, as a teacher, will be on the lookout for all these things in the class. See whether any change is happening in the child. Is the child exhibiting different behavior? Has there been a problem at home? Is the child subjected to any kind of abuse? The child is not wanting to say. Why else would a child who is very, very, intelligent, extrovert, and being participative in the class, he is trying to be withdrawn or he is becoming an introvert? That means there is some problem. So you need to jump in immediately and subtly, not directly, but subtly find out, send feelers and find out what the problems are for the children. So the job of a teacher is not such an easy one. You are expected to play different roles, multi roles. You have to be multifaceted. You have to be prepared for all these things. So, unless as teachers we are prepared, we will not be able to talk to them about this, about a diet, about nutrition, importance of good food, asking them to keep diaries, looking subtly into what it shouldn't amount to being, interfering or too much into their personal lives, but make it a generalization. Talk to them about these things in the class. But for doing these things, you should know what are the various ways by which we can do it. And then talk about environment conservation, which is the need of the hour. These are all part and parcel of our lives. A Swachh Bharat campaign or Do Not Spit campaign cannot succeed. It is not succeeding in this country. We find a lot of educated people flouting the rules. If you ever go out on the road and stand in a signal, you will see that those who are jumping the signal and going with such impudence are the ones who are educated. So, education seems to be conferring some kind of a license for people to do wrong. The poor people of this country, they are law abiding. They know what is hardship. So, they abide by the law, most of them. But a majority of educated people are the ones who flout rules because they seem to think that we know all everything and who are you to tell me? That is because we have never talked to them about their attitude. We have never thought that it is our duty as teachers to talk to them about obeying the laws and rules of this country. We teach them in civics fundamental duties, responsibilities, rights, all these things. But as we have seen, it is only to pass the exam. It is not for making them, not to empower them, not for them to be disciplined citizens of this country. So if we have to build good citizens, if we have to know that these citizens are going to be the future of the country, a great responsibility lies on the shoulders of the teachers. So the environment conservation, if we are talking about planting trees, do not pluck trees, do not harm the environment, do not pollute the water sources, do not throw chips after eating chips or whatever, do not throw plastic covers into the river bodies, do not use plastic. There are plenty of things. Recycle waste. There are plenty to talk about in the field of environmental conservation. All these things cannot happen all at once when people grow up. It has to happen gradually. From the time the child is in class 1, it has to go on and on and on. Every teacher, it's like have you seen the marathon race? Have you seen the races? One runner runs and gives the baton to the other. He picks up the baton and runs for some distance and he gives it to the other runner. And thus it goes on until they reach the goal. It's the duty of all teachers like that. Whether we are in class 1, class 2, you can't say I'm only teaching the lower classes, so these things don't apply to me. No. A child is a father of man. Catch them early, we say. So we need to start as quickly as possible, right from the kindergarten age. Concept learning, the regular studies can come later perhaps, but life skills and lessons for life have to start from a very early age. And so it goes on and on in every class. Teachers take the cue and they try to give it in an age appropriate way. Whatever is appropriate for that particular age, they make use of those lessons and teach the children so that by the time they complete their 12th standard or their PU and go to colleges, you have done your best. There is no field that you have left untouched, no aspect that you have left untouched. You have been an effective teacher. You have been an inspiring teacher. You have inspired the child to become a good citizen of this country. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that as teachers, you are going to be playing a very important role in nation building. Empower yourselves, enrich yourselves, make use of these opportunities, see where these things can help you. We can all be co-learners in this grand journey. Let us see how we can make this journey very, very pleasant and be very successful in our profession. Let's make teaching not just a profession, but a calling. And let's be successful teachers. Thank you very much. Have a good day.